all I want is to know that I'm helping people. And that has been my main focus for this year, has been to step outside of myself, stop caring so much about what people think of me, and just be me. Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the There's the Coach for That series. I am so excited to get started with this project, and I'm happy to have you here. I'll start off at first, kind of talking a little bit about what this is going to look like. So for today, I've decided to just do episode 1 as a solo interview with myself, I guess we'll say, and just talk about sort of my experience and what I help people with, and kind of give you my story, a little bit of background, and that kind of thing. From there, every episode after this will be an interview with a different coach that will vary from week to week as far as their niche and who they help and what they do for people. I think that there's still a lot of mystery surrounding life coaches and what we do for people and that kind of thing. So I'm happy to provide this space to create an open conversation with how this all works and what we do. Hopefully it helps you learn a little bit more about the world and maybe some things that you had no idea that people struggled with or dealt with. And it might help you realize that maybe people around you might be going through things that you aren't aware of, and maybe provide a little extra compassion with the knowledge and understanding that this project will provide. So hoping to just kind of help the world become a better place with this one. But again, thank you for coming. And I guess at this point, I'll just kind of rattle on a little bit of my story. So if you aren't aware, so my name is Jill Vanden, and I am from near the Green Bay, Wisconsin area. And I have been a coach for about 2 years, and I help overachievers who are frustrated with everything that they try to do but don't seem to accomplish much learn how to do more by actually doing less. So we'll say they'll accomplish more by doing less and connecting to their actual purpose of why they want to do the things that they want to do. There's a lot of struggles that I think overachievers deal with that they don't even realize that they can get help for. And I say that because I am one and have dealt with a lot of these struggles myself. So I guess I'll basically start and kind of share my history with this and what kind of qualifies me to know what I know. So a lot of it is personal experience, and a lot of it is education and just a mix of it all. So I'll get started by talking about my history, even going as far back as around elementary school. So as I was growing up and as I was in school, you do those standardized tests that would like put you in whatever percentile and that kind of thing. And I always came up with really high scores on those. So school was generally easy for me. There wasn't a lot of struggle when it came to learning new things and that kind of stuff, which I know a lot of people would be like, oh, good for you. Like, cry me a river, that kind of thing. But it's important for you to know because it's a basis for the rest of the story. So that was the case for a long time. And honestly, I even still believe right now that there are a lot of things that are easy for me to learn and pick up and memorize. I have a good photographic memory, that kind of thing. But what happened is, as I progressed and things, as I got older and things got to be a little bit more challenging in school, and more in the sense that like more homework needed to be done or papers needed to be written, things like that, I started resisting that. I didn't do my homework very much. This started even, I think, as soon as 4th grade, this started slipping. And in middle school, it wasn't great. And by high school, I was skipping a lot. I didn't go very often. I barely did any of my homework. And I ended my high school career with like a 2.0 7 something GPA. So, again, this is important for the story because I read a book recently, or I'm reading it still right now, but it's called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And it's all about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And I would have, if you would ever tell me that I had a fixed mindset on things, I would have told you to go jump off a bridge because there is no way. Like, I'm totally growth mindset. I'm absolutely about like learning and growing and all of that kind of stuff. But as it turns out, I think I was very fixed mindset as I was growing up. So what this does and what she described in this book resonated with me completely. So I feel like just the threat of failing, if I tried something and wasn't good at it, or like say I did work hard on my homework and didn't get a good grade when I was used to doing well in the past, I actually would pull back from that because of the threat. So I would, instead of trying and failing, I would just choose to fail, because if it was my choice, then I can still say that, well, I would have done great, or it would have been fine, or yeah, I know I could have, but I didn't want to, or that kind of thing. So I feel like I didn't know it at the time as I was going through it, but it's definitely become something that I'm very aware of now. So what that turned into, again, was my high school career not being great. And what also happened a lot is that, like, during parent teacher conferences and things like that, I heard tons of teachers always talking to my parents about all of the potential that I had, and that I could do great, and I could, get good grades, and I could do all of that if only I would just use my full potential. And so I would roll my eyes every time that I heard it. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I don't want to. So whatever, very kind of lax about it. But, anyways, as I graduated high school, barely by the skin of my teeth, thank goodness, I got that done. And as I got out into the real world, I started realizing that I did want to apply myself, that I wanted to succeed out there. Um, I wanted to be able to use my brain and my talents, because otherwise nothing was very challenging and I'd get bored really fast. So I found myself, finally trying to work up to my potential and living towards that sort of thing. But I think what has happened then is that I've almost tried to overcompensate a little bit. So I would always be trying something new or learning something new. I worked for a company for 17 years where I started as part-time customer service in high school. And at the end of it, I ended up as the director of operations before I left. So I was always like striving to achieve more and learn more and do more and be more valuable, that kind of thing. And then, and along the way, I also went to school a couple times. So I went to just a technical college in the area, but, and I say a couple times because there's been twice that I've had to enroll and started taking classes, and both times ended up dropping and not finishing any kind of degree or anything. But it was always because I was just looking for more. I was looking for more excitement. I was looking for more stimulation, because I think that that's kind of a thing that achievers also look for, is the next new exciting thing. And underneath it all, even though I never would have admitted it also at the time, I think I was looking for validation. I wanted people to see all the things that I was achieving so that it would prove that I was living up to who I was supposed to be, or that kind of thing. So yeah, it was a journey of, with career and education, of just always trying to add more and do more and that kind of thing. Now, you never would have known it really when you met me around that time, because I also in public or around friends or whatever, had a very like carefree, relaxed sort of vibe. I like to laugh a lot and have a lot of fun. And so nobody would have like looked at me and been like, wow, this chick is super stressed out about a lot of things going on. I never really showed it because I think I just thought that's just how life was. It was just normal. So it was good to work hard, but then also I liked to play hard. So I did that. So then, not only with the career and education and that kind of stuff, but it started then kind of morphing into just kind of general personal growth. So, trying to create new habits and routines and exercise goals and trying to just keep the house then organized and making sure all the things got done and the house was always clean and laundry and, all of the things that we all feel like we need to have done all the time or else our worlds will come crashing down, right? Woke up a lot with Monday morning anxiety if things were kind of left on the weekend with some loose ends. If the house for any reason was a mess on a Monday morning, I mean, I would spiral out and my poor husband would just like, you know, try to get me to relax and calm down and reassure me that we would get to everything in good time. But it just, I don't know. I always just felt like I was losing it if things weren't exactly the way they needed to be. So fast forward now to where I'm at, I have come up to some serious realizations about that kind of living. And in realizing what I was doing and that I feel like my achievements maybe were trying to overcompensate and, become more or look like more or, that kind of thing, that I was looking for that validation and the praise and all of that kind of stuff. I've now come to the conclusion that none of that really matters. And I have spent a lot of work over the last year or two just really trying to decide, what do I want to do? What do I want out of life? How do I want this to look? And so in that, I went through and discovered amidst a big personal growth phase. And I was following a lot of other like more notable coaches, more famous people out there. And I suddenly realized like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to help people. I want to, and I've always known that I wanted to help people in some kind of meaningful way, but I just never knew what it looked like. So when I came upon life coaching as an option, which I had no idea what it was before I did it. So I started looking into it immediately as soon as I realized it. And once I saw that this was like a true possibility as a full-time career and what we get to do to help people, oh my gosh, I was all in. I was all in on that. And I looked up certification right away. What do I need to do? How can this look? And there a dream was born, and it is the one that is continuing for me today, that has led up to this podcast. So through my certification, I learned a boatload about myself, because that's the cool thing about learning how to be a life coach is they kind of help you practice the tools on yourself first before you use anything on anybody else. So we did a lot of deep diving in class to figure all that out. I went through the Journey, it's spelled JRNI certification course, and met just a lovely bunch of humans in my course. And really the entire organization is just filled with like the most compassionate people and brilliant people that you'll ever meet. So that was a process that lasted, it was about a 20-week program, if I remember correctly. And as soon as I was out of graduation, then it was like, okay, rubber meets the road now. Like, let's make a business out of this. So in true achiever mentality at that point, I decided to make sure that all of the everything had to be done before I could really push forward and, get new clients and help people. So I spent a lot of time on my website. I spent a lot of time trying to learn more about, social media and how do I do all of that. And then I felt like I needed to know so much more so that I could help people. But through that process, I also ditched everything that I had initially worked on. So I spent a couple months, I think, on the website. I think that's what it was, a little over a month, and ended up wiping the whole thing like not that long after and starting over with another one. And I feel like that was just always kind of the thing that I was doing. It was like, get something done, well, work a long time on it, then get it done, then make some a big announcement so that everybody can be excited with me of whatever it is that I just accomplished. And then I would get, whatever kind of praise that I got or compliments or that kind of thing. And then once that wore off, it was always like, okay, well, what is the next thing? What's the next thing that I can do that will be exciting? And it was an interesting experience because it was always like I would never give anything even a fair amount of chance before I would let it like take hold. So whatever social media or whatever my branding strategy was or whatever I was doing at the time, like it would just be this constant mixed bag of stuff that I was always like, I felt like announcing and then taking things down or changing things anyway. And what I've learned now from all of that is to give things a little bit more of a fair shot when I'm doing them, but also to make sure that I'm in full alignment of why I'm doing it, that will sustain me through it, that it isn't just because I just want sudden excitement and praise and, all of that kind of stuff, that all I want is to know that I'm helping people. And that has been my main focus for this year, has been to step outside of myself, stop caring so much about what people think of me, and just be me. Be the me that just helps everybody else with what they're dealing with when it comes to the issues that I can help them with, right? I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be fully educated on every topic, that I can help people where I'm at right now with something they're struggling with. And that's all that I want to do. And ever since then, like since I've realigned and just kind of looked at how do I add value in this world, everything has become more and more clear. And then all of that led up fairly recently to, we'll say it was definitely, I don't know if it's a midlife crisis or just kind of a meltdown time or that kind of thing. But if you know me, you know that my birthday was just at the end of last month and I turned 40. And I was all year looking forward to this and being like, 40 is going to be awesome. And I can't wait to see where I'm at that point and what a great time it's going to be. And then a couple days before my birthday, I completely lost it and started realizing that I wasn't at all where I wanted to be or where I thought that I would be, that I felt like there was a lot of work that I had put in to my life and to building something that I didn't feel like I was seeing the results that I was looking for at that point. So I had a big kind of like crisis moment where for a few days I cried a lot off and on, kind of dove into self-coaching myself a little bit, exploring where these feelings might be coming from. And also I put out a post to a coaching group that I'm in and asked for help there and got tons of good coaching from those people. I went to my coach and I got some really great coaching from her. And yeah, I just kind of really wanted to be really introspective about the whole thing. And I want to know where this was coming from and why was I getting so emotional about my age, because I never really felt like age was a big deal. But some of the things that I learned at that point through that was that I did actually, it's not that I cared about being 40, like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm getting older and that kind of thing. But I did have a really big attachment to what I thought that I wanted at that time. Like because I hadn't achieved certain goals or that kind of thing, I was very attached to the timeline of that. And because I hadn't gotten it at my 40th birthday time, then my inner self was kind of throwing a little bit of a tantrum. So that was one of the realizations. Another thing I had realized is all of these feelings that were bubbling up at that time were basically just an expression of all these feelings that I have been holding on to for quite a while. But in my overachiever mentality, we tend to think that feelings are a waste of time. So I realized on the call with my coach when we were talking about the timeline and that kind of thing. And and then I talked about setting a goal for August and for the end of August. And I immediately started crying again. And I was like, wait a minute, what is happening? Why is this making me so emotional to set a date at the end of this month for a particular goal? And it was because I was just really afraid that that whole thing was going to happen again, that I would get really frustrated again, and that dealing with my feelings would just delay me by at least a few days, if not more. And there was work that needed to be done. Like I need to do work. So I can't be dealing with these like emotional breakdowns when I don't reach my goals. So that was interesting. And kind of another thing that I have learned throughout coaching and through just my education and experience is the concept that feelings aren't like negative feelings, we'll talk mostly, but negative feelings are not, first of all, a waste of time. They are definitely worth exploring, and that it's okay. It's not wrong to have them, right? They can be with us and they're totally natural in the human experience for them to come up, and we can feel them and feel the good emotions together at the same time. That's also something that can happen. And they are complex, but they don't have to be such a struggle all the time. And mostly when you're feeling bad feelings and you're really struggling about it, it's not the feelings that you're worried about. That's not what you're struggling with. What you're struggling with is the resistance to the feelings. So the feelings themselves are fine, but if you aren't prepared to have them, and if you don't want to feel them, then you'll always be trying to push them away. And in that push is where the struggle comes in. And then you're judging yourself for it too. I think that was something that would happen. Like if I would cry or get upset about something, it's like I was always apologizing for it, or I was always just trying to squash it down, and like because I felt like it made me lesser of a person, like I should have it more together and that sort of thing. So I'm sure that resonates with some of you. I think that's kind of a common thing that happens in society right now, is we all get very uncomfortable with our feelings. So this is something that I help my clients with, is kind of working through that as well. Now, I am also still learning at the same time, but I feel like this past experience just over these past couple of weeks has been the best education I could have ever received. So that was one of the things that I was dealing with. And then another thing that I realized was that I was getting very dependent also on like to-do lists and things like that, like schedules and planners and that kind of thing. And I started realizing that I don't want to do that anymore. Um, I think that what I would do is like I would make a to-do list, and then somehow I would just resist that I wanted to do anything on it. Like I wouldn't be excited about the things that I put on the list. And then I would just kind of hold back and not do anything, or I'd feel totally unmotivated to accomplish anything on that list, so that I would like go buffer by watching shows or eating or whatever, just doing anything but taking a look at my actual to-do list. And the same thing with like weekly planners. Like I would structure out my whole week, and then I would end up not doing most of it, but then feeling bad and kind of like useless because I didn't get to the things that I said I was going to. And it would just make me feel bad. So I decided just recently to toss all of those things. So I threw away the to-do list. I don't do planners anymore. I don't really set much for reminders. If there's a particular project that I'm working on, I might make a short little list of things just to make sure I remember to do within the scope of the project. But I don't really do any long-term things anymore because, as it turns out, when I focus on just what I want to do and what feels inspiring at the time, that is the best way that I work. Like, I am fueled, I have a lot of energy, and I end up working a lot more and actually accomplish the things that I want to do because I've been more narrowly focused on getting them done. So that's another thing that I help people with, is to help them determine what things they actually want to work on. Now, I won't force anybody to throw away their to-do lists or get rid of any planners or to do anything like that, only if they decide they want to. But for me, the reason it came up is because I also decided to focus my days and focus my energy based on what feelings I wanted my life to have. Like, instead of being pressured by timelines and goals and things like that, and structured days and that kind of stuff, is that really what I wanted? I mean, how do I want my life to feel right now? On the opposite end, if you are a goal achiever, if you're somebody who has a lot of goals, there might be something to look at there on if you think that achieving those goals will make you feel a certain way once you complete them. I suggest you highly question all of that, because I am definitely here to tell you that that is a fantasy that exists in your mind as something that will be better someday, that will be better later once you get this thing done. And I don't know if you've realized this or not, but probably most of the time that you've achieved a goal in your life, if you're an overachiever like me, you have probably gladly just brushed it aside and moved on to the next thing. That it probably didn't make you feel as good as what you thought it was going to once you said it. And that you just weren't as, like, life wasn't perfect, we'll say, right? Once you got it done. So, and on the other end of it, so then I flipped the script on that, and I decided to just, yeah, start with the feelings rather than saying I want to achieve this goal so that I feel this way. I'm saying I want to feel that way. So what do I want to do to make sure that that's happening? And that helped me, because one of my main core feelings that I want right now is spontaneity. I really love living a spontaneous sort of life, one that isn't very planned out, that I want to go by. If I feel like doing something, I want to do it. And I don't want to have to worry about what other plans I had instead, and maybe another day and waiting and that kind of thing. Being spontaneous gives me a lot of joy in my life. So hence, again, the getting rid of the lists and the things like that, because the to-do lists are opposite of spontaneous. And I just didn't want to be beholden to that anymore. So that has allowed me to really just, yeah, focus on what feels good and what feels right. And if that means that in the middle of the day, I go decide to do something completely different that I didn't initially plan in the morning, then I'm okay with that. And then I'll come back and I'll focus in on whatever the next thing is. And I think I was always worried that that would, like, give me too much freedom, and then I would stop, like, that I wouldn't get anything done. Like, if I just allowed myself to say, I'm just going to work on whatever I want, that I wouldn't end up doing anything. That was the fear, that I would just maybe decide to just sit and watch TV, or, decide to do something completely unproductive, right? And that kind of thing. But it has turned out to be the opposite. By taking off those shackles and allowing myself to just do whatever I want, I'm finding that I'm doing things that are just really driving me to get done what I need to. A lot of my work has to do with creativity as well. And so I've been feeling a lot more creative. I feel like my intuition has been able to be free more to determine what it is that I want to work on next. And I get excited to do my work each day. And then I also have allowed myself to take breaks more than I ever have before and rest more than I have before, because I also know that that is an important thing to do. So I will work really hard. And when I say really hard, I just mean I'll get really focused in on what I'm doing. It's not really hard work because I do enjoy doing it. And even if there are tasks that I don't enjoy doing that much, they are easier knowing that I've just chosen to do it in this moment and it'll be over soon and I'll move on to the next thing. Like it's, I don't know, there's just something about not having it be, like I said, this shackle. Like that's what it always kind of felt like to me. So I've released the pressure and then, yeah, I let myself just relax and get back into old hobbies that I used to work on a lot. I'm trying to start some new hobbies and I'm saying yes to more social things and hanging out with people more because that brings me a ton of joy to be around other people. And it's just been an easier life with this mentality of how do I want it to feel? So that's another thing that I would recommend that you explore is, are you living the kind of life that you feel like you want? So I know that there's a lot more that I can continue to say and to talk about, but I think I'll just cut it now because you'll be learning more about me in future episodes as well as I have conversations with these other coaches. And if you want to know more about me as time goes on and things, that I'm working on or are interested in working with me, any of that. So you can find me at my website is jillvh.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram at jill.vhcoaching. I'm pretty active there. And then on Facebook, I don't use my business page a lot, but you can find me personally by searching for my name, Jill Vanden, Heuvel, or if you go to facebook.com/coach.jillvh, you'll also find me there. You can feel free to add me as a friend or just follow me, however you want to do that. But that is where you'll find most of what I'm working on. And so if you are interested also in learning more about working with me, I do offer one-on-one coaching, which comes as a 6-month package. So 24 sessions. And through that, we would talk each week about what you have going on and then kind of process what's happening. What are some new ways that you can try? Then in between each one, you would go out into the world and practice and put these tools to use to have some awareness and observations about how it worked for you, what did, what didn't. And we talk about it again the next week and kind of the cycle can continue from there. So after 6 months, it's amazing the kind of work that you can accomplish and things that you feel like are just very ingrained habits for you right now and that there's no hope in changing. You definitely can. You can make these shifts and make these changes and create a better world for yourself. So it all starts with a 60-minute consult call, which we would do over Zoom. And from there, we would just talk about what is going on and what is happening and what is the vision for your life. What would you rather be feeling and how would you rather be living than what's happening right now? What are the circumstances that seem to be holding you back and that sort of thing? So we would, just go over all of that. And then at the end of the call, just decide if we are a good fit for each other and go from there. So if you're interested in that, if you go to my website or to my Instagram, like I mentioned, any of those places, you'll be able to find a link to book that call. It'll send you to my calendar so you can set up a time that works best for you. And I would love to see you there. But that's all I have for today. And I sincerely hope that you enjoy this podcast and this video series, depending on which way you're watching it or listening to it, and that it is really, really helpful for you because I think there's a lot of learning to be done in this world. And there are so many people that are so knowledgeable about how to make this world a better place. So hope to see you there. Continue tuning in and have a wonderful week.